As you guys can tell, they're doing it right here. At this point in time, Pastor Ray, can you come up and start us with prayer?
Good evening. Glad you guys are here. Let's go before the Lord. Ask him to bless our time. Father, we thank you for this opportunity, Lord, to hear the candidates. I pray that, God, you would have your hand upon, Lord, our time together. We ask that you have your hand upon our state. Lord, we ask that you would, Lord, raise up leaders, God, that could take us forward into the things that are good and right and true. Lord, we ask that you would be with our nation, Lord, as President Trump addresses the nation right now. I pray that you would have your hand upon all of that. We ask that you bless this time now. We ask it in Jesus' name. Amen. Bless you.
Thank you. Excellent. If everybody will have a seat, we'll go ahead and get started. So tonight, I just want you guys to know this was led, our whole board put this on, but this was led by our first Vice President, Marguerite. Marguerite, where'd you go? Okay, so Marguerite is going to be our MC today. And I also want to introduce you to John Brenna. John Brenna is the Republican Party chair down here in Valencia County. And he will be our moderator. So Marguerite, take it away.
Thank you. You want to take this? I'll leave it here. Okay. So what we'd like to do, first of all, is recognize any public official, any that is in office. Could you please stand? Thank you. Thank you for your service. We appreciate you. So I'm just going to tell you the candidates that are here today. We have, and they're not going to come out. Well, you know what? They are going to come out. But first, we're going to have Christopher Vanden Heuvel. He's running for U.S. Senate. Come out. And Gregory Cunningham. He's running for United States Representative District 2. And Jose Orozco as well. And then we have, I think, let's see, Ndidimaka. Didi Okpareki is here as well. Sorry. Thank you. You guys can clap for them. Next, we will have our Lieutenant Governor candidates, Aubrey Blair Dunn and Manny Lardizabal. And finally, we will have our governor candidates. And we are just so pleased to have all of these candidates here today. We have Gregory Hull, Jim Ellison, and Doug Turner. We have some candidates that are not here tonight, but they sent in some videos. So during the forum, we will be playing their videos. And the first video we're playing today is Michael Jack Perry. He's running for the Senior Commissioner of Public Lands.
Well, it's funny. I've never been one of those guys that wakes up and reads what the paper said about you. But now that social media is on the platform that it has, you can take this, people will post and they'll say negative or positive things about it. But 99% of the things that are said are like, man, this guy knows what he's talking about. This isn't political. This is what this guy does. This is his heart. This is his soul. And that's what I want people to understand about me. That this, I'm already retired. I have a state pension. I'm looking for more responsibility because my resume says you're ready for this. My wife says you're ready for this. I'm hoping New Mexico can embrace that and say this is the guy for the job because he has the heart to continue doing what he's been doing his whole life.
And now our chairman for Valencia County Republican Party, John Brenna, is going to explain the forum process, and he will explain how we drew names to decide who would answer the questions first in each group of candidates, and then we will rotate, but he will explain the rest of the process.
Okay. Good evening, everyone, and welcome. Thank you to Ray and Marguerite for allowing us to use their fabulous facility all the time. It really helps to have a place to meet, and it really helps us out as a group. So the process is real simple. Governor candidates will be given 3 minutes each to go ahead and have an opening statement. And then after that, each candidate will be given a total of 5 questions, and they will have 90 seconds to answer those questions. Now, that sounds like a little bit of a short time, but you know, when we have our meeting, we'll give somebody like five minutes to tell us who they are. But this is really where the rubber meets the road. These questions are not that hard, and you're going to see these candidates being able to think on their feet. So in the back of the room, there's a timer, and that's the 3-minute timer for the intro. And then a minute, and it should be a minute and a half, it should be a minute and 30 seconds. And I guess, what is there, a 10-minute tick, or 10-second ticker, Matt? Got it. Okay. All right. So, as Marguerite stated, the candidates we put in a pile, and we picked out names and to decide who was going to go first. And the first lucky candidate tonight is Doug Turner. Mr. Turner, yes. Sir, you have 3 minutes to give your initial speech.
Good seeing you again.
Good seeing you, sir.
And many of you again. I saw you all on Saturday. For those who don't know me, my name is Doug Turner. I'm from Albuquerque and also from Taos County. I might actually be the only elected Republican in Taos County. I'm elected to the Ski Valley Village Council. I am an entrepreneur. I own a number of businesses here in New Mexico. My primary business is consulting for the Department of War. Any of you in the military might be familiar with PSYOPs. We work in the information environment and mostly countering bad guys around the world. I have a real estate development company and another company that builds cool custom Land Rover trucks. So if anybody's into cool cars, we build them from the frame up. All of our businesses, we import revenue from outside the state. Our headquarters for all our businesses are in Albuquerque. I've been involved in Republican Party politics since I was 18, probably earlier, but voting since I was 18. I ran both of Gary Johnson's campaigns for governor. I am a lifelong gun owner and Second Amendment rights believer, and I am a staunch advocate for education reform in New Mexico. If anyone remembers back 30 years ago when Johnson ran for governor, New Mexico was 50th in the nation in public education. We were always competing with Mississippi, which was 49th. Today, Mississippi is 16th, and we are 50th. No amount of money seems to be fixing it, just terrible, terrible management and a willingness in this state to promote kids out of 3rd grade and into school even if they can't read. Only 46% of our kids in this state can read when they get out of 3rd grade, and that's shameful. Shameful. So, you know, I have been an advocate for charter schools and school choice. For the last 15 years, I've chaired public charter schools of New Mexico, and we have gone from having about 15,000 kids to over 40,000 kids. We need more competition. We have a PEC commissioner sitting here in the audience. Give him a round of applause. There is so much we can do in this state to make this state more competitive for small business, better for parents and kids in terms of education, safer for families in their neighborhoods. And as your next governor, I commit to you that I will work for 8 years to get that done. We have a once-in-a-lifetime chance this year to win this race. Deb Haaland is now polling 30% above Sam Bregman, who told me that he just spent $500,000 trying to change the narrative, and he is tanking. So it's going to be a Republican, and it's going to be against Deb, and we will win. God bless you.
Thank you, sir. Our next contestant, I don't know why I'm doing that. There you go. Our next contestant is James Ellison. Come on down, sir.
All right.
Thank you, sir.
All right. Good evening, everyone. My name is Jim Ellison, and I am running for governor. I am originally from coastal Georgia. My mother was a school teacher. My father was a postal worker. We attended the local Methodist church. I was an Eagle Scout. I worked overseas. I was in charge of a large power plant and a distribution company. Met my wife. We moved to New Mexico so that I could take a job at Sandia National Labs. We found some land in the East Mountains, Cedar Crest, built a home. We raised two wonderful boys. One is a high school senior, and the other is a fourth grader. And I was appointed to the Public Regulation Commission for a 2-year term by our governor. I was not her first choice, and as soon as she could get me off of the commission, she did. I am running for governor to put the brakes on Deb Haaland's and MLG's efforts to turn New Mexico into another California. As a former PRC commissioner, I'm convinced that the stage has been set for our electric rates to double or triple over the next decade, and we need to do something about it while we still can. I'm running to fix our schools. Our schools have been in last place for 30 years, and I think New Mexicans are tired of excuses. They want to see something done, and the 3 red states in the South have indeed showed what's possible, but our politicians don't want to listen to that. And I'm running to work on the economy. I believe a rising tide lifts all boats, and it's time that we do more than just one-off projects, but engage in tax reform and in other measures to really boost our economy. I'm the person that you should choose as your nominee because I know what the problems are with the Democrat-led energy policies and how to fix them. I am the one who is going to take the fight to Deb Haaland. She claims that she's going to do something about affordability. Folks, she's lying. She supports policies, radical environmental policies that are increasing the cost of living, and I will take that fight to her. I wrote an article in this Sunday's journal, Albuquerque Journal, that talks about exactly that. And I'm the only candidate here who served in MLG's administration. And I'll tell you folks, my experience there, seeing what MLG and the progressives are doing to our state, made me a Republican. I know...
I need you to wrap it up. I need you to wrap it up, sir.
Is my time up?
Yes, sir.
I'm sorry. So stand with me and we'll engineer a better New Mexico. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Okay, now, Mayor Greg Hull. There you go, sir.
Good evening, everybody. How are we doing this evening? Good. Thank you for inviting us. Thank you for hosting us. Thank you to Calvary for allowing us to come here and have this forum here. It's very important. My name is Greg Hull. I am running for governor of New Mexico, and I have been the mayor of Rio Rancho for the last 12 years. Many of you all might have heard about that community. I call it the cherry tomato in the bowl of blueberries. So, yes, Rio Rancho has proven under my administration that you can be successful in New Mexico. You can have a safe community. You can get a good education. You can get economic development. You can have a great police department. You can improve infrastructure, and you can do all these things when we're being told in New Mexico we just have to be 50th in everything. We have to be last in all the things good and first in all the things bad, and I think we're really tired of that. And I do have a hashtag that I use in Rio Rancho, top of the good list, doesn't suck, okay? I mean, it's nice to be at the top of the good list. It is nice to know that your citizens are safe. It is nice to know that you can grow your economy. And in Rio Rancho, we've done that. Now, we want to take that model and take it to the state. And how are we going to do that? We're going to do that by working with communities. We're going to do that by working with mayors and city councils and county commissions to develop strategic plans around public safety, around infrastructure, around economic development, creating opportunities so that our kids can stay in this state. I know if you guys go on my website, you can look up who I am and who I've been. Since the day I turned 18, I registered as a Republican. Haven't changed that. Been a Republican my whole life, and I'm very proud of the fact that my first vote was for Ronald Reagan in his second term. So, yes, that's a memorable thing for an 18-year-old. But you know what? We need more 18-year-olds voting. We need more 18-year-olds engaged. We need the young generation really getting out there and getting engaged, because the decisions that are being made today are going to affect their futures. So I just want to cover a few more things so you know a little bit more about me. Number one, very much pro-school choice. And as a matter of fact, we have an incredible homeschool community that in this state that vastly gets ignored. And so I want to make sure we bring attention to the fact that the best people to raise their children are the parents. And I want to take let's hear it for our parents. I want to work with our public education department to push more autonomy down to the districts so that the local districts have more control. We should never have a governor that has the authority to remove a duly elected school board. That should have never happened. That same governor threatened to remove elected mayors out of their positions if we didn't do what we were told. Well, we fought back on that. So I am very much pro Second Amendment. I'm very much pro school choice, and there's a lot of other things you're going to learn about me this evening. Thank you. God bless each and every one of you, and I look forward to telling you about our positions.
Thanks, Mayor. All right, so now we're on to the questions. The envelope from Price Waterhouse. It's been sealed. Nobody's had access to these questions. I'd like to thank Marguerite, Nancy, and Janice Arnold-Jones for helping us with the questions. Thank you so much. All right, so Doug Turner, you're up. Yes, sir, again. Thanks, sir. You ready? All right.
90 seconds.
Yep, here we go. So the citizens of New Mexico are among the poorest in the nation, yet our state is one of the richest in terms of trust funds. Can a governor resolve this disparity? Is it time to distribute a portion of the trust funds to New Mexico citizens?
You mean hand out cash to people? Is that the question?
Like they do in Alaska, I guess.
I think that's a terrible idea. I mean, I think we are an amazingly resourceful, rich state, not only in terms of minerals and land and environment, but in terms of people, and people want to work. We need to create an environment that allows people to get jobs and keep jobs, and for them to earn a great living to take care of their families. That is really the problem here. You know, what I've seen in my 30 years in business is I've seen a government that creates barriers for small businesses, not blaming you, Greg.
You won't get that rearranged.
For small businesses, but has massive handouts for big businesses. And the reality is it is the small businesses in this state that create the jobs. And so we need to have a better environment for that. And what that actually starts with, I think, is eliminating the personal income tax. Every other state around us has a significant, including Texas, which has 0. Now, realistically, you're probably going to have to lower it a point a year for 3 or 4 or 5 years, but I think we can do it. We have a $72 billion permanent fund right now. Next year is going to be 80. We should be spending that money on infrastructure and jobs, but we shouldn't be giving it away.
Thank you. Okay, Jim Ellison. Again, the citizens of New Mexico are among the poorest in the nation, yet the state is one of the richest in terms of trust funds. Can a governor resolve the disparity? Is it time to distribute a portion of the trust funds to New Mexico citizens?
You know, I think that's a really interesting question that highlights that we do have these large permanent funds, $65 billion plus and growing, and the way that they're being used does not seem to be in the best way. It's very hard-coded how much money comes out a year to specific things. Some of it is dealt with by Congress. We would literally have to go to Congress, which we can obviously do to change how some of that is spent. But I do think what makes sense is to do a broad-based look at our taxes and to look at how we can reduce our taxes in a way that makes the most sense, in a way that helps everyone, and especially the most vulnerable in our population. I would think that the gross receipts taxes is certainly an area that should be looked at, how we can drop that. But I do think we could be using our permanent funds in a much smarter way to alleviate some of the tax burden that New Mexicans have.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. Mayor Hull. Same question. The citizens of New Mexico are among the poorest in the nation, yet our state is one of the richest in terms of trust funds. Can a governor resolve this disparity? Is it time to distribute a portion of trust funds to New Mexico citizens?
So we're going to distribute those trust funds to the citizens of New Mexico by doing what we were supposed to do with that trust fund money, those permanent funds that have been created. They are supposed to be being invested in our future. So right now we have severe infrastructure needs in the state of New Mexico. We need to put that money to work. It's sitting in a savings account. We're losing value on it. I think permanent funds are a great thing, but once they get over a certain amount of money and you're sitting on all of this money and you're not fixing the streets and you're not building an energy future the way you should be in New Mexico, it's time to deploy those. These have been referred to as rainy day funds. Well, it's pouring when it comes to infrastructure in New Mexico. I know because in Rio Rancho, we've replaced more than 50 major roadways and miles and miles and miles of water lines in our city alone. We're not investing properly in water. We're not investing properly in infrastructure. And when we don't invest in New Mexico, businesses that are looking at New Mexico won't invest here either. You want to drive investment? In Rio Rancho, when you talk about being one of the poorest states, we took the median household income from $53,000 a year when I took office to just over $87,000 right now, because we're growing personal wealth, we're growing community, and we're doing it without raising taxes. And I can tell you right now, the tax rate is the same today in Rio Rancho, our sales tax rate, as when I took office 12 years ago. Not any other community that I'm aware of can make that same claim. Thank you.
Thanks, Mayor. Mr. Turner. You're going to get your steps in and your exercise, sir. All right. New Mexico raided the permanent fund for teacher raises. The legislature has provided more funding and more educational programs and early childhood education to improve educational outcomes. When asked, New Mexicans provide bond money to improve facilities, yet New Mexico remains last or near last in educational outcomes. What is New Mexico doing wrong?
So I don't think anybody believes teachers should not be paid well. Great teachers deserve to be paid a fortune, honestly. I think the problem in our public education system is a few things. Number one, money needs to follow the child, right? Right now, money ends up going, a different amount of money goes into the traditional public school system, say, than a charter school gets. And even the folks who homeschool don't get the same amount of money that a traditional public school gets. So that has to change. The school districts have a day in the school year at which they count their students and then they get their money for the year. And it doesn't seem like they care about what happens to those kids once they start not showing up. They still get their cash from the state. We need more aggressive truancy control in this state. I mean, kids need to get into school. I don't think it's what we pay teachers, but I do think it's how we use the money that is allocated to each student. And if we don't do that, we're going to end up in the same boat again 30 years from now. So,
thank you.
I see my last 6 seconds.
Thank you. James Ellison. New Mexico raided the permanent fund for teacher raises. The legislature has provided more funding and more educational programs and early childhood education to improve educational outcomes. When asked, New Mexicans provide bond money to improve facilities, yet New Mexico remains last or near last in educational outcomes. What is New Mexico doing wrong?
Well, I'm sure you've all read that Deb Haaland's plan for education was endorsed by the teachers union. How many of you think that it might have been written by the teachers union? So, I think that is a problem. I'm not against the teachers union, but I don't think they should be writing our education plans. I think teachers' salaries are important. I think they're being adequately paid. I think facilities are important. We've got great facilities in general. I think the problem is one of accountability and not having high enough expectations. I think our kids are not getting homework anymore. That seems to be a policy of many school systems. I think that we, instead of lowering expectations as a result of poor performance, we need to be increasing expectations in response. If we demand more, we're going to get more.
Thank you, sir. Mayor Hall?
Thank you. Where are we losing? We're losing in accountability. Is that yes, teachers need to be paid, but we also need accountability when it comes to this, where we're spending our money and what we're getting for the money that we're spending. When you go to work, you get a review, and if you have bad outcomes, you don't get raises. So we need to make sure that we're tying the spending to outcomes. That's very critical. The other thing is going back to the homeschooling and all the other options is that we need to open up the flexibility to where parents can put their children where they know they can be successful. If you've got your kids in a failing district and they're not performing there, then you need to have the flexibility. You need to have the freedom to make sure that you can move your child to a place where they can be successful, because just letting them fail cannot be an option. But also when we talk about that, there are some other accountabilities that need to happen. We need parental accountability because when it comes to truancy, we have our schools in so many ways have turned into just daytime babysitters. Okay, we can't have that anymore. We've got to have the parents engaged. We've got to have the teachers engaged. We've got to have the districts engaged. And one of the things that I want to do is push more local control it down to the districts so that the districts can teach our kids more in line with the character and culture of the community. By doing this, we're going to get better outcomes.
Thanks, sir. Okay, next question. What life experiences have you had that have equipped you for the role of governor? Mr. Turner.
Wow. I've made payroll for 25 years. I've managed organizations. I've advised the U.S. government. I've advised foreign governments. I have been and still am a father of 3. I think I mentioned I've got a 19-year-old son in college. I've got a 16-year-old daughter who thinks she's 19. And then I have an 11-year-old. And I'm also a single father. I lost my wife a year ago to breast cancer. And I almost didn't run for this. And I decided to do this, one, because we have a chance to win this cycle. I decided to do this because we need an independent business person who understands what it's like to get up every day, take care of their kids, put food on the table, make sure their kids are safe. That's what we need. Nothing could be worse. And I don't think I've ever dealt with anything more challenging than the year I had last year after losing my wife. And with that experience, I am fully prepared to take as much pain as necessary, not only to get through this campaign, but to deal with our legislature and to do what's right for the state.
Mr. Ellison, do you need me to repeat the question?
Yes, please, sir.
All right. What life experiences have you had that equipped you for the role of governor?
Thank you. At Sandia National Labs, I worked on complex problems in the nation's interest. Problems such as how to prepare for hurricanes and issues like how to maintain our power grids in the face of more and more renewables. And I believe that understanding complex systems is something that is of key importance when you think about all the problems that we have here in New Mexico that were left by the current administration. In my role at the PRC, I saw so many things that I believe are working against the public interest. I had a look. I'm the only candidate who was in MLG's administration, and I had an inside look, and I know where the problems lie. And I think those experiences are going to suit me well in this new role. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. You got it, right?
Life experience. 12 years mayor of Rio Rancho. I've had experience building a police force. I've had experience pulling together public safety and making the safest community in the state with a population of over 30,000. We're also the number one safest city in the Southwest with a number two safest city in the Southwest with a population over 100,000. I've chased after federal funds, state infrastructure funds, replacing roads, replacing water lines, building sustainable water systems. We have the state's first ever reinjection system, making sure that we're recharging our aquifer and protecting one of our greatest natural resources to make sure that we have those developments online. Building a fire department, replacing infrastructure, making sure that our school districts have the resources they need in a partnership with the city. We're right now embarking on career technical education in the city of Rio Rancho, and that's a major piece of my education plan, is making sure that CTE and our kids are career ready when they come out of high school and go into college or go right into a workforce. So these are the things that we have physically worked on. These are the things that we have achieved. Number two most affordable city to live in the Southwest, right here in New Mexico, with a high median income. We've also been rated by livability.com as the best place in New Mexico to raise a family when New Mexico was recently recognized as a worst place to raise a family. So got a lot of experience along with being a former business owner.
Thank you, sir. For almost 20 years, New Mexico has pursued a green energy agenda that includes expanded wind and solar, ignores nuclear power, and attempts to end extraction of oil and gas and mining of rare earths. How will you leverage New Mexico's energy resources to assure that New Mexicans receive a direct benefit from energy resources?
Well, first of all, I think we are the second largest producer of oil and gas in the United States, which is huge, and it is because of oil and gas that we went from having a $2 billion budget when Gary Johnson was governor to an $11 billion budget right now. It's because of oil and gas we have a $72 billion permanent fund. It's not because of solar. It's not because of wind. It's because of what we have in this state. And, there are some other things that we need to be considering. We haven't permitted a new mine in New Mexico in over 30 years. So if you're an advocate of solar or wind, what do you need to build those products? You need to mine. You need copper. You need rare earths. So they want to have their cake and eat it too, and I think that's totally inappropriate. The other thing is I was at a lunch today with Mayor Hull here, and we were talking about the SunZia power line, this line that runs to Arizona. It doesn't deliver one bit of energy to New Mexico, not one. So we are exporting, but we're not actually adding to our own economy for it. So if we're going to do these projects, they have to create jobs, long-term jobs, well-paying jobs. But first and foremost, we shouldn't dump on our core energy, which is oil and gas.
Mr. Ellison, would you like me to read the question?
That's okay.
Okay.
So much of the last 7 years has been devoted to measures dealing with climate change. When you think about it, it's really interesting. We're a state with low population, with not a lot of industry. We're about 0.04% of the global greenhouse gas output. If it went to zero, it would do absolutely nothing to temperatures here or in Las Cruces. So what this administration has done is has this excessive focus on driving down greenhouse gases, which can have no impact on temperatures here in the state. So I think we need to realize that the first thing we can do is stop trying to kill our oil and gas industry. We do need to, we need to stop facilitating the export of our power at no benefit to our state, which is what we are doing with that SunZia line, which is under construction. We are sending all this wind power to Arizona and California. Our budget gets nothing. Our people, our utilities get none of this power. We need to stand up for our state. We need to negotiate a better deal.
Thanks, sir. Mayor Hull.
Thank you. Okay, so when it comes to extractables, it is the industry that drives the state, and I'm just so happy that I was able to work with our legislators this year to kill a bill called Clear Horizons. That would have killed jobs across the That would have killed jobs across the state because when you talk about wind and solar, they talked about today, I think they created maybe 150 jobs, or it was a very low number. I was very unimpressed with the job creation number when they talked about wind and solar in the state of New Mexico. And the reason it was unimpressive is because when you think about your upstream, midstream, and downstream production of oil and the thousands of jobs that creates throughout New Mexico, well, New Mexico is losing population. Rio Rancho has actually grown by 20% in the last 10 years, and that's because we're creating opportunity. We're inviting investment, and we don't want to kill investment. And we've seen lots of investment in that area by helping Intel Corporation bring another $3.5 billion. You're seeing a lot of growth down here in the area of Los Lunas and Belen, and that's because these communities are being more and more welcoming to that investment. So we do not want to kill the goose that laid the golden egg, and that golden egg is that permanent fund, but it is time to put those investments to work. It's time to show the citizens and people outside of New Mexico can be business friendly, we can create opportunity, and we can make sure that our children have a great future.
Thank you. Okay, the last question for our gubernatorial candidates is this. Crime has multiple facets, from drug use, poverty, incarceration, facilities, judges, catch and release, and recidivism. What will you do to reduce crime in New Mexico?
What a brutal question. I mean, what's remarkable is that, in Albuquerque, we just reelected a mayor to his third term, and yet we have the highest crime rate in the state, and it continues to go up. And so I wonder if people care sometimes. As a father, I sure care. And I will be honest with you, I don't have a silver bullet for that. There are people in this audience who've been in law enforcement, and certainly people up here who have been in law enforcement who I would expect to turn to for their expertise. But at the very least, we need to stop this revolving door. I think most people in law enforcement will agree that it's a relatively small group of criminals. I mean, it's a big group, but it's relatively small, who continue to, commit crime time and time again. They get put in jail, and then they get kicked out again, and then they commit crime again. And I think that, at the very, very least, is something we should be able to deal with at the legislature. I mean, there are many, many other things out there in terms of mental illness treatment, drugs and so forth. But at the very least, let's lock up the people who commit crimes, and let's just keep them there.
Thank you. Mr. Ellison. Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Well, that is a tough question. I do think that the most important thing is to not be complacent, to not be satisfied with the status quo, to not think we've got to wait until our economy improves, we've got to wait until society improves. We cannot have that attitude. We need to figure out how to attack this problem because people do not feel safe. I've had friends tell me that they don't feel safe. And, we've got to stop being complacent. I do think that this most recent deployment of the National Guard was useful. The increased force did improve the situation, but that's a one-time measure. We need to try to learn from that. If we need to increase our presence, and if that would help, then we should certainly do that. If we need to take other measures, then we will do that. The most important thing is to not be satisfied and to be driven to improve the situation.
Thank you. Mayor Hall.
Let our law enforcement officers do their job. Hold criminals accountable. We're going to need juvenile justice reform. That's going to happen. We're going to need mandatory systems. We're going to have to fight for that. Sentencing. We're going to have to fight for that. We're going to need zero tolerance on violent crimes, especially ones that involve children. That just has to stop. And people need to know that they're going to be held accountable. Do you know why people don't speed through Rio Rancho? Anybody know why? Want to raise your hand? Yeah, it's a little secret. Let me share it with you. We enforce the law. Okay, so what we've got to do is, and this is where being a mayor has given me a very unique experience here. We need to work with local communities to come up with strategic plans, counties as well, and the pueblos, to come up with strategic plans around law enforcement and help these communities fund those law enforcement policies, those plans. Because the problem is a lot of your communities, for example, Espanola, where the National Guard was deployed, is they don't have the resources necessary to fight some of the things that they're dealing with up there. So we need to work with those communities and become a true partner with our municipalities and stop passing one-size-fits-all laws that makes Espanola look like Las Cruces and Las Cruces look like Hobbs and Hobbs look like Gallup and Gallup look like any other community in the state. It's not going to work. It never has. So we're going to need to come up with those plans and fund those communities to make sure they can fight that crime.
Thank you, sir. Okay, that concludes the question portion. We're going to now have the wrap-up. We're going to use the timer on the bottom there. So it's 1 minute and 20, okay, which is almost 2 minutes. So, Doug Turner, would you like to come up?
I feel like a target, John. Thank you all for coming out tonight. I mean, the fact that people are here, I think, is a testament to the excitement that we see as Republicans this year. We have a unique opportunity, as I said. We have what is likely to be one of the worst Democratic candidates that we've seen in history. Not only if she were to win would we be in dire straits in this state, but a little joke. I saw her briefly on Saturday night, and I shook her hand and I said, "Deb, how's the campaign going?" And she said, "So much driving." You've all been watching the news lately, right? And I said, "What, no planes?" And she just stared at me like she had no idea what I was talking about. I am so deeply committed to this state. I was born here. I have spent time in every corner of this state. I am running because I believe in our Republican Party. I believe in the people of New Mexico, and I believe that we ought to be one of the best states in the Southwest. We know it is, but let's prove it to the United States.
Yep. Mr. Ellis? Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you to the FRW here for organizing this. Thank you to Mr. Brenna for moderating. And thank you all for coming out. Appreciate the opportunity to speak with you. At Sandia National Labs, I did work on complex problems that are important to the nation, and I think we need to bring that level of attention and expertise to the complex problems facing our state. And we've got a lot of them. Let's face it, the current administration has a lot of failed policies and has left us with a lot of problems to deal with. I believe that as your nominee, I would be the last line of defense against Deb Haaland. I would attack her position incessantly. And as someone with inside information into the MLG administration, I know where the bones are buried, and I would be their worst nightmare. I would work on three things. As governor, it looks like I'm out of time here. I'm Jim Ellison. I'm running for governor. I encourage you to look at my website, ellisonforgov.com. Would appreciate it if you would be interested and volunteer for the campaign. Thank you.
Thank you. Mayor Hull. Thanks, sir.
I'm Greg Hull. I'm running for governor, and I would appreciate your support. We've got delegates in the audience, and I'll be looking for your support at the convention. I bring the real-world experience. We've brought real solutions, and I'm going to bring those real solutions to the Roundhouse. As mayor of Rio Rancho, I have firsthand experience of the headwinds that come out of Santa Fe. It's not just against the citizens, it's against the citizens' representation that goes there to try to fight to make New Mexico the best. One of the first things we put in our strategic plan in Rio Rancho was that we wanted to be the best city in the Southwest. Well, the first thing I'm going to do when I become governor is we're going to write a strategic plan, and we're going to be the best state in the country. That's what we're going to be. But we've got a long way to go to fix that. There's so many things. It's not going to happen overnight. It's going to take a lot of work. It's going to take a lot of dedication. We didn't turn Rio Rancho around overnight. It just didn't happen. A lot of people had to work together to get that done. We're going to build teams. We're going to use professional teams to make sure that we drive results-driven data that allows us to really move this state in a positive direction. We've got to create a future for our children, and that future has to be created now, or we will not have an opportunity should Deb Haaland get into office. My name is Greg Hull. Go to greghull.com. See my materials out here. Thank you all. God bless each and every one of you.
Thanks, sir. All right, let's give a big round of applause to our gubernatorial candidates. Looks like it's going to be a tough choice, folks, but we got some great people up here, so start thinking. Go to their websites. Find out more. All right, now we're going to go to Lieutenant Governor. We have two folks from Lieutenant Governor tonight. First one is Mr. Dunn. If you'll come on up, sir. And you'll have 3 minutes to give an opening statement.
So good evening. Thanks for having me here. My name is Aubrey Dunn. I go by Blair. Many of you may know me in that way from the news and from other avenues. Before I get into introducing myself and explaining a little bit about me, I want to take a moment. Duke Rodriguez, who's one of the other candidates running for governor, asked for me to apologize for him and express his regrets that he couldn't be here with you today. He had to go to Farmington to court to deal with what, in my opinion, as an attorney, was a frivolous lawsuit filed by Republicans to try to kick him off the ballot, which was unsuccessful. But again, he expresses his regrets, and I wish he could have been here with us tonight. But about me, I said I'm Aubrey Dunn, and I go by Blair because there were a couple other Aubreys, 3 of them, in fact, in front of me. Aubrey Dunn's in front of me. One of them was my great-grandfather, who was in the state Senate. My grandfather, who you might remember, or some of you might remember, was also the chairman of Senate Finance in the state Senate. And then my father was most recently one of the Republican land commissioners that we had here in New Mexico. So how many people in here know what the job of the lieutenant governor actually is, what the 2 responsibilities of the lieutenant governor are? Most people don't even know we have a lieutenant governor, but a few will know that we have a lieutenant governor. They have 2 roles once elected. Preside over the Senate, and then preside over the state in the absence of the governor. That's all a lieutenant governor really does. So you're electing the backup guy, right? It's not a job I ever wanted as a kid growing up. I never dreamed about being that. I dreamed about being governor, but I didn't start out to run for this job because I had any interest in whatsoever in presiding over the Senate or being governor when the governor was out of state. It's just not what I was interested in. But like many of you, my family and your families have all faced this decision. Can we fix this state? We're at the edge of a cliff, or should we leave? And I had a crisis, and my conviction told me that before I decided to give up on New Mexico, I needed to make one last stand and try to do what was right. That gets to the more important job of a lieutenant governor, which happens before we ever get elected. That's to get the governor elected. That is the primary job of a lieutenant governor, is to make sure that we elect a governor. I think I'm uniquely qualified for that because of my name ID and because of my background as a lawyer advocating for civil rights for citizens like you, defending property rights. Most recently, I defended, we actually got an injunction against the governor when she tried to take your guns away on an emergency health order, right? That was my law firm that got the injunction. I've stood up in court for Second Amendment rights against her and against the cities That's what I can do, and I can actually help you get a governor elected, because this is the end, folks. This is the edge of the cliff. We have to beat Deb Haaland this November. There is no other alternative, and you need a lieutenant governor that will help make sure that we get a Republican across that finish line successfully. Thank you.
Stand by one. Go ahead, sir. This is
thank you, sir.
Lardizabal. Manny Lardizabal.
You did
Is
it.
that right?
That's
Did
good.
I get it?
Amen. Like you said, I'm Manny Lardizabal, and I'm running for lieutenant governor. Some of you all know that I'm a minister of the gospel. I'm a pastor for the last 27 years, but I'm also an entrepreneur, business owner for the last 21 years. And so with my experience and the knowledge of not only as being a business owner, one of the things as for lieutenant governor, just like he says, you're part of the executive branch, and you're also part of the legislative branch where you oversee the Senate floor as president of the floor. But there's one more thing that a lieutenant governor does. He's also the ombudsman for the citizens. And it's very key. He's a voice. He's a voice for the citizens. He actually spends a lot of time out in the state, hearing people's concerns, being able to take it back to the executive because he's part of the cabinet of the governor, and taking it back, having a voice in there.
But also as president of the Senate floor, knowing how to dictate and how to set an atmosphere in a direction that bills that are so important are heard first. You got to be able to set an environment, no matter if the majority is Democrats, because I've heard this all the time, well, it is what it is. Well, I'm telling you, for the last 2.5 years, I've been studying other states that have that situation, but run by Republican lieutenant governors and governors, where they set the atmosphere, even though the majority is Democrats, and get things done. Because the lieutenant governor knows the authority on how to set an environment and set things into a direction of making sure that issues that are so important to the citizens of New Mexico get introduced first. It's very key. Like I said, I've been a minister for the last 21 years. I never ask anybody if they're a independent, Democrat, Republican. If they have an issue or a concern, I look for answers, I help them overcome. I'm a people person. One of the things of my campaign is I have over 100 volunteers already on my campaign team. I'm about building, I'm about recruiting. It's not about me. One thing that I tell my team, it's not about me just winning the primary, it's about preparing the state and the people for a good governor. As lieutenant governor on my campaign, I had not only got signatures for myself, I helped other candidates get signatures. Because this is what it's about. We gotta win. We gotta do it, and we gotta unify. And that's what I'm about, unification, is unifying. As a minister, that's one thing that I do. I know how to gather people, bring them into a place, whether you have you're in disagreement or you don't have the same mindset, being able to gather them and coming to a place, let's find solutions, let's find answers, let's help people overcome. That's what I do. I work with every different types of people that are in poverty, up in the highs and down in the lows, and I believe that's very key for Lieutenant Governor. Thank you so much.
as an adult, being registered in many ways, and I've actually worked as a lobbyist in the legislature with a lot of these still current legislators. We've worked on bipartisan bills that got things done in New Mexico. I've worked on those issues on both sides. I've been hired by people to do that and to make sure we get good policy through the legislature. But working across party lines requires somebody that has a unique perspective about the law, and that's honestly something that as an attorney that we have. Right now, we don't have Republicans in the New Mexico Senate. We don't have anybody there that has a knowledge of the law that can really back that up. And it will make it a lot easier to work across the aisle when you can say, no, that works under the Constitution, or no, that doesn't. For instance, these horrible gun bills that we're seeing. Having a president of the Senate that's actually fought legislation through litigation would be a huge help. And I think that I can be a constitutional voice in our New Mexico Senate. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Would you like me to read the question? Yeah. Okay. The last 4 years have shown the benefits and challenges of a gubernatorial administration working effectively with a legislative body of the opposite political party. How would you participate in strengthening a productive working relationship with legislators, even if the opposite party controls the General Assembly?
Good question. Like I said earlier, my experience being able to gather people, this is one thing in the chambers. When you have somebody that not only understands the laws and the rules, but also the laws and the rules of the chambers itself, being able to understand the importance of being able to gather Democrats, Independents, or Republicans to be able to come into a place and set an environment and an atmosphere, to have a mindset for the people. And being able to understand the importance of what needs to be passed, introduced, and directed in a position that the community benefits the most. That's coming again. Yes, we're Republicans, right? Or else I don't think you would be here. But in the chambers, you got to be an individual that understands the importance of even the Democrats, the independents, the nonpartisan people, being able to gather them and say, hey, look, we're elected officials. We work for the people. Come on, they don't work for us. They elected us. And it's very important to understand that we work for them. And whatever situation or circumstance that your area, and this is one thing that I've seen in the chambers, is a lot of things that are being introduced is one shoe fits all. And I don't believe in that. All right.
Thank you. Mr. Dunn, how do you plan to use your tie-breaking power to influence legislation? And in what areas do you see the most opportunity to foster bipartisan cooperation?
Well, using the tiebreaker in a situation where as the minority party, you're down 15 votes, pretty hard to think about how hypothetical that is at this point, and to worry about that. I honestly wouldn't worry about it yet. There's no situation where you're really, unless we can form coalitions where that tiebreaker becomes important. And that's where I would say that this is important. Again, we have to have somebody that can set a tone, and a tone of bipartisanship, and form the coalitions that we used to have in the Senate. But more importantly, you need to have a governor's candidate and a lieutenant governor's candidate that's got a plan for in 2 years taking control of these houses, or at least chipping away at those margins and getting it down so that we're at the end of 4 years, we have control of one of those houses. At the end of 6 years, we have control of both houses, and we can do the real structural change in New Mexico that we can have. And then you don't have to worry about the tiebreaker vote, because we will have sound policy going through the legislature, and we won't always be playing defense. That's what you need a governor and a lieutenant governor to do, is set the tone to change the state in a major way. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Ladizabal, did I get it right that time?
Yes, sir.
Oh, God.
Yes.
I've been practicing. I'm just not good at it. How do you plan to use your tie-breaking power to influence legislation, and in what areas do you see the most opportunity to foster bipartisan cooperation?
Well, like Mr. Dunn said, it's because of a majority, the chances of that actually happening is really slim. But this is the thing, it can happen. It can. If the atmosphere and the direction of the people's mindset in the chambers is for the citizens, there is the possibility of that happening. I've seen Democrats, moderates, even far to the left, decide that this is the best thing. So there is a possibility that there is a tie. And I'm here to tell you that I will stand for what is right for the people. What is the best thing for the constituents? Being able to be able to speak on behalf, to be able to bring a tie in favor, come on, for the people. For the people, and standing up for the right thing, speaking up for the right thing, being able to not only stand up and speak for what's being on the floor, but also for the future of New Mexico. The decision making that is going to have an impact, not just in the now, but in the future. I really feel that that's so important. And with my experience that I have and the knowledge that I have, to be able to set a tone, to be able to set an atmosphere, to be able to even convince enough Democrats for a tie, I think I can do that. As a matter of fact, I don't think it. I know I can. All right? Good enough?
Thank you, sir. Okay, we're going to go up to the wrap-up session. And Mr. Dunn. Thank you, sir.
So, real talk. You need somebody that's going to be blunt with you, right? This is not a time for nice and feeling what we think we can and cannot do. This is a time for saying this is what has to be done, and we're going to do it. This is a time for saying that we're going to hold the line, and we're not going to let them walk over the top of us any further. We're going to kill whatever we have to kill in terms of bad legislation. We're going to take everything that we can, because this is a no prisoner situation. New Mexico faces a crisis. You have to have a governor and a lieutenant governor that are going to hold the line for 2 years, and then we're going to get control of the legislature one way or the other, whether it's through coalitions and building that climate. But we're going to get it done, and we're going to win in November. But that's the most important thing. And so when you're evaluating things come June, you need to be thinking about not who's the nicest guy, but who's the guy that's going to help us get the governor across the line in November. I'm not going to stand up here and tell you I'm the nicest guy. I wouldn't dare try to say that about anybody else, right? I'm not. But I'll tell you, I will work harder than just about anybody else. I'm going to talk straight with you, and we're going to get this done. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Lord Isabel.
All right. Well, I am a nice guy. But, you know, one of the things is being a minister is a lot of people make the mistake that they take my kindness for a weakness. But I'm here to tell you that I stand for what is right, and I stand for defense of people, for life. I am an individual. A lot of people don't understand the ministry. I'm not only a pastor, but I'm also an apostle. And there's two different distinctions to those offices. The pastor, they tend to the sheep, they tend to the people. They make sure that they overcome, they succeed. Whatever it is that they need, they meet the needs. But as an apostle, they're forerunners. They go and they plow a way. They make a way. They make sure that whatever's in the way, they get it out of the way so people can break through and overcome. And I really feel that that's so key in the chambers, in the roundhouse, that somebody that understands not only the importance of people that are in the highs, but also in the people that are in the lows, that we make a way, that there is a way. And I firmly believe that it can be done. I firmly, and this is my mindset, I see things getting done way before 2 years from now. I really do. I really do. I believe that because we got people in this community that has had enough. Manny Lardizabal for Lieutenant Governor.
Thank you, sir. All right, let's give a great round of applause for our lieutenant gubernatorial candidates. Again, we have some tough choices. We've got great people up here. Make sure you get out and vote, otherwise this is a waste of time. Make your friends, take them to the polls, whatever it takes. Get those people out here. So, we could not have Ramona Goldsby tonight as our Secretary of State candidate, but she's running unopposed, and I say she's the next Secretary of State of the state of New Mexico. And we must get out and vote because the other side of the aisle, the choices are horrible. And without Ramona there, we won't have election integrity, and our elections won't be safe. So get out and vote. Again, get your friends. So, Matt, without further ado, Ramona's video, please.
I want to thank the people of Valencia County for inviting me here today. My name is Ramona Goolsby, and I'm your next Secretary of State. I want to say I am sorry that I'm not here to be with you tonight, and I wish all of the candidates that are here good luck as they present themselves to you. You know, Valencia County is a very special county. It's a bellwether county. Many people in the state of New Mexico don't realize it, but I do. So let me tell you a little bit about myself, for those who don't know me. I am a retired healthcare provider, a U.S. Army Reserve veteran, a retired rancher, and a business owner. I understand accountability, critical thinking, and how to get things done. The Secretary of State's office, a lot of people don't realize the importance of that position and how many jobs that she has to do. She's in charge of the state seal. She is second in line for the governor. She runs our elections. She has the ethics commission and the ethics board that she has to run through the Bureau of Elections. She is in charge of our elections. That's a lot of different positions. She's also in charge of corporate filings. So think about how many different jobs you have to do and have to know in order to be a successful Secretary of State. Well, I can tell you right now that I can do that. There were times in my life when I had 5 paid positions at one time. I worked in critical care. I worked in another emergency room. I taught advanced life support for children. I worked on the weekends as an Army Reserve nurse, and I ran a ranch. It can be done, but it takes a special person to be able to do that. So what can we do for New Mexico? One of the things that I have done in the past, and many of you have probably heard of this, is the referendum project. I was the author of all 6 of those and co-sponsor of 3. And what I want people to understand is that is another job. The Secretary of State is overseeing referendums, the people's choice. And so I have done that. We were very successful in the fact that we educated almost 50,000 New Mexicans on what bills were passed in 2023. And if you think about the success of that, we may not have got those bills on the ballot, but we educated, and those legislators were on the ballot, and they are on the ballot again. The other thing that I really want people to understand is that we need calm professional leadership. We need people that can sit down, see through the chaos, see through everything that is coming to you, and just be calm. Think about it and make sure that our actions reflect what we really believe, not what someone else wants us to believe. Just like voter ID. Many in the roundhouse, many in the upper government in New Mexico don't want voter ID. But if you look at Rasmussen, if you look at Pew Foundation, if you look at even CNN polls show that a majority of Americans want voter ID. You can't buy spray paint without ID. It makes common sense. And that's what we're about. We're about common sense from the people's level. When you look at the people running for Secretary of State on the other side, they're bureaucrats. They've been in office. What have they accomplished? The other thing is voter roll maintenance. That also makes common sense. Why not keep our voter rolls clean? We have access to the information to do it. They just choose not to. There are so many positive things that we can do in the Secretary of State's office, but we can't do it without you. That's the most important part. It's the people. I am excited about the vision that I've seen for New Mexico. We are at a point of change. The Secretary of State is timed out. The governor, the lieutenant governor, the governor, they're timed out. So you will see a change in New Mexico. And I want to see a positive change. I want to see a positive vision. As I've walked and gone around the state and talked to Democrats, independents, and Republicans, that's what everybody can feel. And that's what they're looking for, is a new vision. And I think we can do that. My name is Ramona Goolsby. I am running for the Secretary of State, and I would appreciate your vote in the primary. And remember Ramona in November, because that's where we'll be.
Okay, Matt. Okay, everybody stand up. Oh my goodness. Shake it out a little bit. There you go. Because you know the brain can only absorb what the butt can stand, right? So, all right. Now, let's go on to the next group of candidates. We are going on to the, what's that?
No questions.
We are going to go on to the next candidates for U.S. Senate. The U.S. Senate race is finally heating up in New Mexico. I have Chris Vandenheuvel. He's our candidate for U.S. Senate. And as of today, a gentleman from the southeast part of the state, Larry Marker, has joined the race. Now, these two gentlemen are in search of petitions. I will not try to explain the law to you because I don't even think the Secretary of State understands it. But these two gentlemen have a path to victory, and they're going to be looking for petitions. They have them in the hallway, and they're online. How many do you need, Chris? 47?
Yeah, a couple of thousand more.
Yeah, 4,700.
A couple of thousand more
petitions. And I think Mr. Marker's in the same boat. There is no write-in candidate for the position of U.S. Senate. Yeah, well, that's the interpretation that I've gotten so far. God only knows what the judge will say, right? All right. So, Chris, you've got 3 minutes to tell us who you are.
Thank you. Thank you for inviting me back.
You're welcome.
My name is Christopher Vandenheuvel, and I'm trying to get on the ballot for Senate. And like John said, I need signatures, so I can be your candidate against Ben Ray Lujan. I was born in Wright-Patterson Air Force Base. My dad was a career Air Force officer, so we lived in Ohio, New York, Maryland, Virginia, California, Germany, England. And when I was 22, I drove into the Chama Valley, and I said, hey, this is where I want to live, the land of enchantment. I've had a wonderful life here. I'm just an ordinary person like most of you out there. You get up, you go to work, you make breakfast, put your kids to school, watch them leave, get married, and you have grandkids. That's what life's all about. And as far as getting prepared for the Senate, I don't know, nobody prepared me to be the crew boss of the Chama Valley Forest Fire Fighting Crew. That's something you just go do and you learn. I have five construction licenses and 4 college degrees, and I'm not worried about those Republicans and Democrats that are borrowing $2 trillion a year from your kids and your grandkids' future. And nobody seems to bat an eye about it. But if you look at history, devalued currencies eventually just lead to chaos and disaster. So that's one of the, a lady asked me last time I was here about two bills I had introduced. One of them is that, a balanced budget and restructuring the federal budget. The other is fixing Social Security that's going to hit a road bump in about 5-6 years. And reform the COLA that governs Social Security, and reform Medicare, because you can't find a doctor here in New Mexico, and if you do find one, he doesn't take Medicare. What are you going to do? Well, those things can all be fixed. The highlight of my career, I guess, was Los Alamos National Laboratory, where I got a Q clearance and a $3 million Visa card to go fix stuff for 8 years there. They couldn't build an outhouse without $250,000.
All right. Well, Chris, since you're the only person here, you will have to remain standing.
Can I talk to my
lightning round? You'll get through it. You'll be fine. All right. Mr. Marker could not make it. He lives in very far southeast. I call it Hobbs, America. And it's kind of a 5-hour drive, and he just decided to get in the race today. So, Chris, as a U.S. Senate guy, what is the top issue facing New Mexico that Congress needs to address?
Well, the top issue facing New Mexico is the top issue facing the whole country. When they devalue the currency, your money has less purchasing power, and you get shocked when you go to the grocery store, and what they won't tell you about inflation. See, I have a degree in economics from UNM, political science. They won't tell you that inflation really doesn't go away. It takes years and years of no inflation and productivity increases and pay raises to get back to where you were. So that's the most, to me, that's the most important problem to solve, because it affects every American. And when you have less purchasing power, you don't have as good a life. You have old people like me. I'm well off compared to, I see old people, they have to put stuff back when they're checking out at the line, and they don't have much help coming, and we're leaving a debt that our kids and grandkids are going to be stuck paying the interest on for their whole lives.
All right, so you know what I'm going to do is I'm going to let you grab a seat.
Okay, then get back up?
Yeah, you'll get your steps in. All right, so in addition to Chris, we also have, thanks for your patience, Chris. We also have United States Representative District 1 candidates, Steve Jones. Mr. Jones is currently out of the country. And we have Didi Okapreke. Did I say that right? No, of course not. I'm challenged. I'm sorry.
I tell you that every time.
I know. I have not been able to figure it out. So there you go.
Everybody say yeah, yeah. Say yeah, yeah. I like that. My name is Dr. Ndidi Amaka Bareke. That's why you call me Didi. So I come to you as a proud American. I'm also a proud New Mexican. I'm a proud mother of 3 boys, 16, 15, and 12. I've been in New Mexico. Well, I was rescued from the state of California about 30 years ago. Thankfully, I'm not there anymore. But New Mexico is going in that direction. I attended Sandia High School. From there, I went to the University of New Mexico for undergrad and the College of Pharmacy. I've been practicing healthcare for almost 20 years as a pharmacist. And in 2017, I started my own pharmacy, Olive Tree Compounding Pharmacy in Rio Rancho, New Mexico. Thank you to Mayor Hall. See, I believe that if things are going to change, you need someone to roll up their sleeves and do it themselves. I am that person. I'm not a politician. I don't have experience. No matter what you may think, I have no experience and no background in politics. But healthcare needs to change. It needs to be accessible to everyone and affordable and transparent. Our streets need to be safe. The fentanyl crisis scared me as a mother and as a pharmacist. We need economic development and opportunity in our state. We need businesses to thrive like mine and yours. Education, why wouldn't New Mexico have the best educational system in the US? Now, I look different. I look different than most Republicans that you know. But the reason is because the face of the Republican is changing. People like me are waking up. We are deciding that no more bureaucracy, no more red tape, no more political games with our lives. So I am running for U.S. Congress to represent this district, CD1, and I promise to give you my very best. Thank you.
Would you like to answer the first question?
No questions, no questions.
I know you can do it.
Of course.
I know. Okay. What is the top issue facing New Mexico that Congress needs to address?
Top issue is affordability. New Mexico is beautiful. We have the Sandia Mountains. We have green chili, red chili, Christmas. No one leaves New Mexico because they don't like the Sandia Mountains or because they don't like the green chili. They leave because they can't afford it. They leave because they can't afford the crime. They can't afford housing. They can't afford no economic development or opportunity. They can't afford homelessness. They can't afford not having a job. Affordability. Anyone shop at Whole Foods? Okay, I might have to stop shopping at Whole Foods because I just went to get grapes and the lady told me $14 for grapes. I said, hold on. Put those back. $14 for grapes. That should cost maybe $2 or $3. So affordability, not just in New Mexico, but all throughout our nation. That and also Homeland Security. Sorry, I had to throw that in, but.
Thank you. Have a seat, please. Thank you. Mr. Orozco. That one I can say. Give you your 3 minutes, and then I'll ask you your first question. How's that? Yeah. Then we'll get back on track.
Well, good evening. I really appreciate you guys having us to speak to you guys. My name is Jose Orozco, and I'm running to become your next congressman for New Mexico's 2nd Congressional District. I come from humble beginnings. I was born and raised here in New Mexico. I was raised by a single mother who struggled really hard to make ends meet. I am the youngest of 3 with a special needs brother. My brother has Down syndrome. Growing up, it was a very difficult time for myself and my family because I had to grow up to become pretty much a man. I had to be the support system for my family, from going to doctor's appointments, speech therapy sessions, to going to school and just making sure that we actually got a better life. Throughout this hard process growing up, being raised by a single mother, it was a very valuable experience that I gained. I learned to have a really good hard work ethic, but I've also learned, and I also believe, that opportunity should also be available for everyone, not just a select few. Throughout my life, I built that opportunity the hard way. I've been an entrepreneur. I've been a business partner for a construction company. I've also served as a government contractor for the DEA as an analyst. Working in the private sector, I also understand job creation. I also understand what it means to be accountable for results. As your next congressman, I'm going to be standing firm and focusing on economic development throughout our district. I'm also going to be focusing on protecting the oil and gas industry. I'm also going to be focusing on border security. These are key issues that we need to be focusing on, not just within our district, but in the state of New Mexico. Just last year in 2025, the oil and gas industry contributed over $13 billion into the state. $64 million of that came to Valencia County. Capital outlay and also K through 12 for public school funding. This is my commitment not to just Congressional District 2, but to the state of New Mexico. I truly believe that we have a path to victory this upcoming election cycle. Gabe Vasquez has been pushing negative policies down our throats. And for the longest time, the Democrat leaders in Washington and in New Mexico have kept us bounded, chained down, by keeping us uneducated and dependent off government. I do believe in helping people up. I believe in a hand up, but not in a hand out. And that's one thing that we all need to focus on. All these amazing candidates that we have on stage are going to be the leaders that are going to take us across the finish line. Thank you so much.
I'm going to ask you the first question. What? Okay. Okay, we'll have Greg come up. Greg, come on up. Okay. I was trying to get back in line, Janice. All right.
Is this
sir.
on?
You've got 3 minutes, sir.
I have an advocate in the crowd. Thank you very much.
There you go.
Congressional District 2 is where we're sitting. DD does have a piece of Valencia County, but the heart of CD2 is Belen and Los Lunas. So it's important. I know I'm last, and everyone here did a great job, and they are a hard act to follow. But it is important that you pay attention because this is it. And we're talking about, why are you here? You're here because you care, but you want to know why we can win. So let me address that very quickly. President Trump won CD2 in 2024. It was one of 13 congressional districts out of 435 that the president won, but the Democrat won the seat. The path is there. I ran for a House seat in Albuquerque. It was the gerrymandered section that they used to get Yvette Harrell out, who has endorsed me, by the way. I outperformed the president by 4 points in that district. So the path to victory is there for me. I've already shown on paper that I can do it. So very quickly, why me? Again, born and raised Albuquerque, South Valley, native New Mexican. Went to Manal High School, University of Albuquerque. I joined the Marine Corps in 1987. I was a reconnaissance Marine. I was an NCO in Desert Storm, a decorated combat veteran. I actually got my combat action ribbon in Desert Storm. I came home, I joined the Albuquerque Police Department. I did 20 years there, both in uniform and as a detective. I got Officer of the Month in uniform, Detective of the Month as a detective. I have worked at DEA as a task force officer. I have actually written and authored federal Title IIIs, which are wiretaps. I have written large-scale cartel cases. I've done the undercover work myself. I've shown the ability to operate at a high level using United States Code, transferring those skills to paper and getting people prosecuted and convicted. When I retired from the police department, I opened my own business. So I've started a business from scratch. I know what it's like to operate a business in this environment. New Mexico is very tough. We all know that. My wife and I have a blended family. We have 6 children, 9 grandchildren. And I'm glad I have 30 seconds left. I want to address something very quick. I'm glad we're in a church. This started for me in Legacy Church. We have to be very clear. I've shown that I can perform very well in the world. I'm not naive in any way. But the battle that we are fighting is a spiritual battle. Yes, it is. And the first part to winning a fight is you have to understand that you're in a fight. We are not fighting all over roads and stuff. This is spiritual. You need a man that's going to understand that and fight for you. I've shown you in my past I am that man. I will stand strong. Thank you for your time.
Mr. Orozco, we're going to get back into rotation here. Mr. Orozco, what is the top issue facing New Mexico that Congress needs to address?
Well, first off, it is definitely affordability and education, right? Affordability in the sense that prices just keep going up, you know, and thank God for President Trump that we're starting to see the decrease on gas prices. But at the same time, we also got to be aware, and it's just a personal experience, and when I went out to the grocery store with my wife and I, you know, we're looking at the price of eggs, we're looking at the price of milk, and at the same time, we're having to figure out exactly, well, how much are we going to spend for groceries per month, right? And we figured out, we usually spend about $120 to $130 per week on just groceries. And then at the end, we don't even make it all the way through the rest of the week, so we have to budget. But at the same time, we got to figure out exactly what are the nutritional values of the groceries that we're also buying. But at the same time, we got to focus on education here in New Mexico, because for the longest time, New Mexico has always been the last in education. I have a 17-year-old son. He's about to turn 18 this May, and we just ended up doing a campus tour at the University of New Mexico. And it's one of those key things that was just going in the back of my mind as far as, okay, well, what's going to happen after that? But I truly believe that education and affordability is one of the biggest issues we're being faced with.
Great. Thank you. So what's the top issue facing New Mexico that Congress needs to address?
Well, of course those things are important, and I won't disagree with anything anybody here said, but as a former detective, as a former law enforcement official, I'm going to say that public safety and that feeling that we get when we watch riots all around the country. I mean, what good is it? How do you open a business? How do you send your child to school? None of that matters if your car's not in the driveway. None of that matters if you're afraid to leave your house. We have to get control of the chaos that's going on in our society before anything else will work. You know, what's happening in Minnesota, I was the undercover during the anti-war protests in Albuquerque in 2004. I've dealt with Antifa. I have marched with Antifa. That is not an anti-ICE protest. They are anarchists. They hate America. They are there to stir up something inside of us that causes unrest, that causes you to not want to leave your home. And until we all, and I hate the word safe, I'm a police officer, that word doesn't apply, but until we feel comfortable dropping our children off at school, letting your wife, I don't even let my wife go put gas by herself or go to the store by herself. Until we deal with those issues, none of this other stuff matters. Thank you.
All right, Chris, I let you rest up. Come on. Thank you, sir. So, do you support President Trump's administration, immigration enforcement tactics, and what will you do as a senator to enforce the laws of the nation?
I do support President Trump's promise to take care of the illegal immigration problem. You know, we have 54 million legal immigrants, and we don't need 40 million illegal immigrants. And if the Democrats don't like ICE enforcing federal law, they should have just changed the law. It's a problem that's been building here in New Mexico for at least 20-something years. When Bill Richardson, they've turned citizens, we're not citizens, we're residents. And when you call everybody a resident, then you lose that value of citizenship. We're citizens, we're not residents. It's just like when this Orwellian world we live in now, when there's no doctors, well, we'll just call them medical providers. So he's a medical provider. Well, is he a doctor? Well, close, you know. He's a medical provider. My time is up.
Thank you. Didi, I'm not going to try to pronounce your last name. There you go. So, do you support President Trump's administration immigration enforcement tactics? And what will you do as a senator, or actually a congressperson, to enforce the laws of the nation?
So first, how many of you got chills when that bullet went past his ear and he stood up and said, "Fight! Fight! Fight!" That really humbled me and brought me to my knees. And that's how I knew that's my guy. That's how I knew. They always try to take out the person who's telling the truth, the person who knows the truth, and the person who wants us to be free. When it comes to immigration, I have an interesting background. My parents came here from West Africa, a country called Nigeria. My father was a soldier in the Civil War. From 1967 to 1970, at 16 years old, he ran away from home to fight on the war front. He survived 2 attempts to take his life, shot 2 times in the head, and recovered both times. My parents came here legally. And they had me and my siblings, we are 5, in the state of California. I do support President Trump's tactics to combat illegal immigration, and I also believe we need immigration reform.
Mr. Orozco. Do you need me to read the question?
No,
Yeah.
question?
Yeah.
So I truly believe that we need immigration reform. Not only are we a nation of immigrants, but we're also a nation of laws. As a first-generation American, my mom came to America from Mexico the legal way, right? As we've always seen, and especially now in these changing times, we've seen that even a lot of legal immigrants are having a lot of issues when we have illegal immigrants cross the border and they get put in front of the line, right? We need to start having common sense immigration laws, whether it be a new way of allowing the current immigrants that are either coming in through a process, expedite the process, but at the same time, we also need to start enforcing the law. That way we can also have a defining aspect of knowing who the illegal immigrants are and knowing who the legal immigrants are, and not necessarily just promoting just the legal immigrants, but also giving them a pathway to citizenship, right? Because if you're going to be coming to our nation, to this great nation that gave me the opportunity to succeed, to live the American dream, not only that, but also gave my mother the opportunity to push us, to encourage us, and to become better, to become Americans. That's the reason why we need to start looking at making sure that we have some sort of an immigration reform process.
Thank you. Yes, please. Greg, you want me to read the question, or you got it?
I got it. I do support the president's ICE policy. There's 2 people sitting here that it's self-evident. Even people that came here legal believe we should be doing it legally. Title 8, 1329 United States Code, that's the law. Look, we're dealing with people's feelings, and that's a slippery slope. You know, you just said the word American dream, and Didi, I've said this before with you, I've heard you say that. It's the only nation on the planet where the word dream is attached to it, right? There's no other nation on this planet that has the word dream attached to it. And a big part of that is because of the opportunity that's here. And if that is watered down, that opportunity doesn't exist for us and for our children. And going back to feelings, again, at what point do we decide what laws? If this person doesn't like this law because of their feelings, or this person doesn't like that law because of those feelings, I mean, at what point why don't we just stop enforcing the laws? We cannot do that. Again, there are common sense ways to do it. I've done it. If they would allow ICE to take the criminals at the detention facilities, we would not have to go search for them in their homes and at their place of business, and the collateral damage wouldn't happen. It's that simple. Thank you.
Chris? There you go, sir. Silicon Valley and Washington are looking for ways to enhance surveillance on citizens. What are your views on artificial intelligence, and are you concerned about big tech's relationship with the government as they collect data?
Yes, and yes. I am very concerned. We're all being spied on. Isn't that what happened during the Obama administration when they admitted that they're getting all our phone calls, all our emails, and they're storing them? And it's kind of scary with AI that they'll be able to do it even better, and when it shouldn't be done at all. That's the way I feel about spying on Americans. The other thing I don't think I'm going to be able to go to Washington and just wave a magic wand and change things. But I am going to go try to educate the lawmakers in the Senate as to do more for us by doing less for them. When they had the shutdown, first law I think I'd sponsor there would be that they lose their pay and their health care and their chauffeurs until I have a son that's been overseas in the Air Force, and it really bothered me. The reason I got in this race was when Ben Ray Lujan was making smart remarks about not paying our troops.
Thank you. Same question, Dee Dee. Silicon Valley and Washington are looking for ways to enhance surveillance on citizens. What are your views on artificial intelligence, and are you concerned about the big tech's relationship with the government as they collect data?
That's a very good question. I think that any form of technology is a double-edged sword. So sometimes it's good, sometimes it's bad. But let's hope that we have the right people in the right offices, in the right positions of power who do the right thing. When it comes to AI and our nation, what we must always remember is there are reports that we have about 18,000 terrorists in our nation. How do we find them? We can use AI to find them. And when we find them, we need to deal with them mercilessly. We are in danger. Our nation is in danger. This is not a gimmick. We're not doing this for fun. We are in danger. So with the right pieces of equipment and technology, we can do the right thing to secure our homeland.
Mr. Orozco? Thank you, sir.
No. We are a nation of innovation. And with advancements in technology, we've seen that it could also go hand in hand with law enforcement, right? But at the same time, I truly believe that there is a new innovation process with artificial intelligence. Artificial intelligence is an amazing new technology that has come out, but at the same time, like Dee Dee said, it could also be a double-edged sword. You could also weaponize artificial intelligence, right? Nowadays, when you hop onto your social media apps, sometimes it's really hard to figure out whether it's an actual real video or not. With advancements in AI, it has made it really hard to really identify whether you're watching a real video or not. Whether it's videos, social media posts, or anything that we're starting to see just in social media in general. So I truly believe that there needs to be some sort of oversight to make sure that we have somebody that's competent, whether it be in our nation's capital, or at the same time through these science and tech companies to make sure that we're not weaponizing AI.
Thanks, sir.
So I just stood here and told you that I wrote Title IIIs, which are wiretaps. So, But that was the last form of investigation that we had. We had to exhaust every other form of surveillance and law enforcement technology we had to get that. And I have done that. So I respect privacy. I respect how hard it is, how hard it should be to invade our privacy. I will tell you that my grandchildren will laugh and make fun of me because I don't allow Alexa in our home, because that's a listening device in my mind. I'm sorry. We all have phones. I have used phones when I was a detective to catch homicide offenders, killers. So I've used it for good, but I hate the fact that if they wanted to, they could put every one of us in this room as we're sitting here tonight. I don't like that. I respect technology. I do understand that the country that perfects AI is going to lead the future, and as Americans, we have to do that. We have to do it carefully. We have to do it intelligently. And again, as someone running to be your congressman here, I understand how hard it is to get that into someone's life like that, and I respect that, and I will not violate that as your congressman.
All right, so before we go to the wrap-up round, we actually have a representative in District 3, Martin Zamora, who's running. He is not here tonight. And if you know it or not, Valencia County does not encompass any of Congressional District 3. So, on to the wrap-up. Chris, come on, take us home. The clock is right there, buddy.
It's better not to have questions. I taught at CNM for 6 years after working at the lab, night school, and I got to ask the questions. Anyway, I'm going to run out there and put my cards when I'm done with my wrap-up, so you can grab one before you leave, because I need everybody's signature here. This is spectacular. This is the biggest group I've seen on the campaign trail in the last 3-4 weeks, and it's kind of wonderful to see you. Gives me the courage to keep going on, and as far as going on, 5 days ago, Washington Republicans apparently took notice of New Mexico's sad state of affairs that they couldn't nominate a Republican candidate for senator, that Senator Scott called somebody who called somebody who called somebody who called me and then told me he was my new campaign manager. So there is hope. And again, I want to thank you all for coming. This is what it's all about. And I'm just an ordinary guy, but I'll be a great senator, and I can beat Ben Ray Lujan.
So there's an adage that my father told me when I was young, and it says, "I am because we are, and because we are, therefore I am." What that means is, I need you. I need you to do this. I cannot do it out of my own power or my own might. I need you to be the light of the world. I need you to be the city on the hill. And I need your money too. I need you to help me with my campaign. Even though we all know I am the last person Melanie Stansberry would want to see on a stage with her contesting for that seat. But we can take that seat. We can rise up out of the ash like a phoenix, and our clothes won't smell like smoke. With your money. Thank you.
Mr. Roscoe?
Well, I want to thank you all for allowing us to speak to you this evening. It has been an incredible journey so far, personally, within our campaign. It was a really hard sell to my wife, letting her know that I was going to be running for Congress, but I have a really good support system at home, and she's just completely amazing on allowing me to move forward to campaign throughout the district. But at the same time, we need to focus on this upcoming cycle. right? We have an amazing group of candidates on stage right now, and there's only going to be a few of us that are going to make it out of the primaries, right? Together, we must continue to fight, bring the party together, and rebuild the party and rebuild New Mexico. Because for the longest time, we've handed New Mexico over to the Democrats on a silver platter, and we need to take that back with true leadership. And it is my commitment, if I make it through the primaries, going into the general, it is my commitment to assist whoever these primary candidates, whenever they make it through, it is my commitment to assist them on getting those votes. I really appreciate your guys' time, and have a good evening. Thank you.
Thank you.
Last, no pressure. Again, my name is Greg Cunningham. Don't let the last name fool you. I grew up in the South Valley. I'm what we call Coyote. Yes, I got, obviously, people hear my last name and they expect something different when they walk in the room. And so I obviously got the Martinez gene. Again, who you nominate and who you send forth matters, okay? And what a person has done in their life and has accomplished in their life gives you a glimpse, it gives you a snapshot of what that person will do for you in the future. All candidates, you know, we all stand here and we all have dreams and we all have vision and we all have those things, but again, at a granular level, what has that man or woman done that shows you that they have the grit, the problem-solving skills, the character, and the determination to represent you? As we go through this process to the delegates in the room, again, I've demonstrated that on paper already. I've demonstrated that I can win this race, that I have the grit and determination to represent you correctly and honestly. You will never question where I stand on issues. I will always, I have 10 more seconds. I will always present myself as your representative in a way that you will be proud. Thank you.
Thank you. So before, I don't need that. So before I thank the candidates, I would like to thank all the spouses of the candidates. Why? As you heard from some of the candidates, without spousal support, these guys and gals would never be able to do this. This is a very, very tough road, especially at the federal level. They need money, they need help, they need your support. Some of them need your signatures, okay? So this is what we all have tasked in front of us. So pay attention and make sure you get out and vote. And now I would like to thank all the candidates for indulging us and me and your patience with me. And thank you for being here. And now I will leave you to my lovely wife, Nancy.
Thank you.
She's got.
Okay, we're going to give the candidates a chance to finally get off the stage, and I appreciate you guys. Thank you guys so much for doing what you did. There is food in the hallway. Please stick around. These people want to talk to you some more. We're not allowing them to ask questions right now, but they can ask questions of you guys outside. So if you guys want to head out of there. And for the rest of you guys, wonderful group of candidates. I want you guys to please give credit to our board. This was a concentrated effort. I'm going to tell you, Marguerite led most of it, but we've got an excellent board, and they've all been very active tonight. I just also want you guys to realize that the Federated Republican Women, one of our jobs is to get candidates elected. And so this is one of the things that we do, but join us for some of the other things. We have a lot of fun. We've got a tea coming up in March. We've got a dinner theater coming up in May, and we would love to see you guys. If you guys will head out, refreshments in the center hallway. Please speak to your candidates.